Okay, let's dive in. Picture this. Everything feels stuck. Fear is everywhere. The leadership's shaky. And the enemy, they look totally dug in.
Yeah, it feels hopeless.
Right. And then one person, just through this like incredible act of daring based on faith, flips the whole script. We're digging into a moment exactly like that today. It's ancient, but wow, does it speak to us now?
It really does. These stories have layers.
And you've been with us on this journey through the book of Samuel, right? We've seen Hannah's prayer, Eli's house falling, Samuel rising up, Saul becoming king. It's all one big unfolding story.
Continuous narrative, yeah.
And today, we hit a chapter that feels like, I don't know, a tremor running through that whole story.
Yeah.
Chapter 14.
It's a big one.
Our guide here is this really amazing analysis, goes straight to the Hebrew text, and it's deeply shaped by, well, the mystical worldview of the sages of Israel.
Which is a perspective that sees these texts not just as history books, but as like living guides.
Exactly. Guides to leadership, faith, human nature, the stuff we still wrestle with today. The question is, what can these ancient sources, seen this way, show you? That's our goal.
And what's so powerful about looking at it through the lens of the sages is how they saw these ancient struggles as, well, timeless. The same spiritual battles, the same psychological stuff we deal with.
Absolutely. And the big tension this analysis pulls out, running right through Samuel, is this fight between fatalism.
This idea that things are just fixed, you're stuck with your nature, your destiny.
Versus the prophetic movement, which is all about, repentance, free will, the chance to actually change and transform. It's like a spiritual war playing out on the ground.
It really asks, do we just accept how things seem? Or is there something else, maybe faith, maybe divine help, that lets us break free?
But chapter 14 just throws this tension wide open. You see it starkly in Jonathan, Saul's son, and then in King Saul himself. It forces you to ask, what's real leadership? And what just paralyzes it?
The contrast is so sharp.
So our mission today, walk through chapter 14, pull out the key insights from this commentary, drawing on that wisdom of the sages, and see what it means for you. Faith, leadership, getting unstuck.
And really engaging with these stories on this level, it changes how you see them. If you're new here, or maybe want to go deeper, listening to our previous dives into Samuel, that really helps you see the whole picture.
Definitely. We really encourage you to check those out if you haven't. It adds so much context.
It builds the foundation.
So join us for this part of the journey.
Yeah.
And look, if you find this way of exploring these texts valuable, sticking with us is easy. We do these deep dives regularly.
Find them wherever you listen or on YouTube.
Okay, let's set the scene. King Saul, beginning of chapter 14. Where is he at? What's the vibe?
The source paints a pretty grim picture. The commentary says Saul is, well, embarrassed, maybe depressed. He's failed in battle. He's trying to fight, but without that spirit of prophecy he once had.
So he's feeling powerless.
Seems like it. He's literally just sitting under a pomegranate tree in a place called Migron, his army, down to about 600 men. It's stagnation. Leadership paralysis.
Okay, so the king is stuck under a tree. Who decides to make a move?
That would be Jonathan, his son. Verse 1, he talks to his armor bearer, says, let's go check out the Philistine garrison. But the commentary points right to this detail in the Hebrew. He outrageously told not his father.
Outrageously. So not asking permission.
No, this isn't protocol. This is like pure initiative, bold, maybe even a bit defiant. It's coming from somewhere totally different than Saul's inaction.
And where is it coming from? What's driving Jonathan?
It comes down to this just astonishing statement of faith. They're facing these really tough, rocky passes, Bozez and Senna. Looks impossible.
Right.
But Jonathan says to his armor bearer, this is verse 6, come, let's go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised, that's how they refer to the Philistines, outside the covenant. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for there is no restraint to the Lord to save by many or by few.
Wow. No restraint to save by many or by few. That phrase, that feels like the absolute core of that prophetic view you mentioned, doesn't it? The total opposite of fatalism.
Exactly. It just throws out the whole idea that numbers or weapons or terrain decide the outcome. It's pure faith in God's power, which isn't limited by, well, anything material. That's the engine of his action. Totally different from Saul just counting his few men.
And the armor bearer, he's just in.
Instantly. Verse 7. Do all that is in thy heart, turn thee, behold, I am with thee according to thy heart. Just total commitment. Like, I'm with you, whatever you're feeling, let's go.
Yeah.
It's this powerful partnership, based on that shared faith.
Okay, so they hatch a plan. They're going to reveal themselves, see how the Philistines react, use it as a sign.
Yeah, That's it. If the Philistines say, wait there, they'll hold back. But if they get cocky and say, come up to us and we will show you a thing, like taunting them, Jonathan says, okay, that's God's signal. He's given them to us.
And of course, the Philistines are arrogant. They say, come on up.
They walk right into it. Jonathan declares, come up after me, for the Lord hath delivered them into the hand of Israel. And then it gets physical. The text says they climbed up upon his hands and upon his feet, like scrambling up this steep rock face.
Just the two of them.
Just the two of them. And the first result, they take out about 20 Philistines right there in that small area of the outpost.
Okay, a small start, but it seems to have a huge ripple effect.
Oh, it's way bigger than just those 20 men. Verse 15 talks about this trembling, this panic that spreads through the whole Philistine camp, even their raiding parties out in the field. And then, get this, the earthquakes.
An earthquake?
Yeah. And the commentary is clear. This wasn't just coincidence. It was a terror from God. It's divinely amplified.
So this one act of faith by two guys, it triggers this divine chaos among the enemy.
Precisely. Saul's lookouts, way back where he's sitting, they see the whole Philistine army just melting away, scattering in confusion. The victory isn't just military force, it's faith sparking a God-level response.
Okay, now here's the moment. Saul sees the enemy falling apart. What's his first move? How does he react? This is where that contrast really hits, I bet.
It really does. His first instinct, verse 17, it's pure logistics. Number now and see who is gone from us. He wants a head count.
Not prayer, not seeking guidance, just counting.
Just counting. It's reactive. Compare that to Jonathan's proactive faith. So they count, and surprise, Jonathan and his armor-bearer are missing.
Then he calls for the priest, Ahijah, who's there with the ark, the symbol of God's presence.
Right. He says, bring hither the ark of God. Seems like the right move, maybe. But then, as the noise from the panicked Philistines gets louder, the commentary says Saul feels the pressure, he gets impatient, and he fails, crucially, fails to actually consult God. He just turns to the priest, Ahijah, and basically dismisses him, withdraw thy hand.
Wait, he tells the priest to stop seeking God's guidance right when everything's kicking off and they need it most.
That's the insight from the source. It's profound, isn't it? He cuts off the spiritual connection right then. And what happens next? Saul and his men just get swept up in the battle Jonathan started. The commentary notes he doesn't really lead them into it. It kind of gets pulled along after the people. It's described as unleaderly.
Following the momentum, not creating it with faith, reactive again.
Exactly. And the victory just grows from there. Hebrews who were sort of forced to be with the Philistines switch sides. Israelites who were hiding in the hills come out and join the chase. And the text itself says it plainly in verse 23. So the Lord saved Israel that day. Jonathan's faith kicked it off. God magnified it. The people jumped in.
Okay, so amazing victory. God clearly intervened. Jonathan showed incredible faith. What does Saul do to celebrate? Or what's his next leadership move?
Well, this is where things take another turn. This is where you see that sort of fatalistic, controlling side pop back up. Verse 24. Right in the middle of this amazing victory, Saul makes this rash oath. He curses anyone who eats food before evening, before he feels he's fully avenged.
An oath, like a curse. The commentary called that excessive piety, right? What happens?
Well, the men are totally wiped out from fighting all day. They find honey dripping in the forest, like instant energy just lying there. But they're terrified to eat it because of Saul's curse.
He's put this spiritual roadblock between his exhausted army and the fuel they need.
Exactly. But Jonathan, he didn't hear the oath being made. He comes across the honey.
And he eats it.
He eats some. And the text says his eyes brightened. You know, he felt that sugar rush, that energy return. But then someone tells him, hey, your dad put a curse on eating.
Uh-oh. How does Jonathan react to that?
His reaction is stunning. It's a direct critique of his father's leadership. Verses 27-29, he basically says, my father has troubled the land. Look how much better I feel now. Imagine how much more we could have done today if the people had been allowed to eat freely. He connects the dots. Saul's oath hurt the army, hindered the victory. He calls out the bad leadership. He sees the practical consequence of this misguided, controlling piety. And this leads to a problem for the people, doesn't it? Because they're so faint.
Yeah, exactly. They're starving, exhausted. They finally capture Philistine livestock, and in their desperation, they just fall on the spoil and start eating the meat with the blood, which was a major violation of Torah law.
So Saul's oath inadvertently leads the people into sin.
It does. When Saul hears about it, he correctly calls it treacherous dealing. He orders them to stop, sets up a system for proper slaughtering right there. And here's a detail the commentary highlights. This is the first altar Saul ever builds.
Wow. The timing. He builds his first altar to fix a problem that his own bad decision kind of created. That disconnect again.
It really underscores it, doesn't it? He addresses the symptom of the people's sin, but seems blind to his own role in causing the faintness that led to it. Then, still wanting to push the attack, Saul suggests they go after the Philistines again that night, verse 32.
But something's different this time. The commentary said he asks them, doesn't command. Yeah, maybe he's lost some confidence after the oath fiasco, or maybe it's just that tendency to follow the crowd. But the people, they're just, they're tired. They just dealt with this whole blood issue. They're not really into it. The priest steps in and says, let us draw near to God, try to get some divine direction.
Okay, so Saul tries again, asks God for counsel.
He does. But this time, silence. No answer from God.
And why? What does the commentary, drawing on the sages, say about this?
It points directly back to Saul's earlier disrespect. Remember when he told the priest, Achijah, withdraw thy hand, dismissed him? The insight is Saul doesn't even realize that's why God isn't answering now. He can't connect his own disrespectful action to the lack of divine response. He lacks that spiritual sensitivity.
So instead of thinking, maybe I did something wrong, what's Saul's immediate reaction to God's silence?
Blame game. Scapegoat time. Verses 38-39. He gathers all the leaders and basically says, okay, someone sinned today. That's why God's not talking. We need to find out who. And I swear, even if it's my own son, Jonathan, he will die.
His own son. Again. Just like that.
Especially his son. The commentary gets into his motive here, suggesting Saul is actually humiliated by Jonathan's success. Jonathan acted on faith, got results, showed Saul up. So now Saul sees a chance to kind of put Jonathan in his place, using the sin as an excuse. It's jealousy and insecurity talking.
How does he plan to find the supposed sinner?
He uses lots. Divides the people, Jonathan and Saul on one side, everyone else on the other, and the lot falls on Jonathan and Saul. Then between them, it falls on Jonathan. But our source makes a critical point here. Using lots based purely on luck like this for major decisions, that's generally forbidden in Torah law. Saul's using this arbitrary method, the commentary calls it a shell game, to pinpoint his son, not genuine discernment.
So Jonathan is singled out. Saul demands a confession.
And Jonathan, described as having this deep integrity, this saintliness, he confesses immediately. Yeah, I taste a little honey. He doesn't hide it.
And
Saul sees his chance. Driven by that jealousy, that need to reassert control, he declares, God do so and more also, for thou shalt surely die, Jonathan.
The death sentence. For tasting honey he didn't even know was forbidden by a questionable oath, after he was the hero who started the whole victory.
It's totally disproportionate. It screams insecurity, not justice. It's failed leadership, plain and simple.
But then, the people, the ones Saul kind of followed into battle earlier, they have something to say, right?
Oh yes, this is huge. Verse 37, a powerful moment. The people stand up to Saul, they say. Shall Jonathan die, who hath wrought this great salvation in Israel? Far from it. As the Lord liveth, there shall not one hair of his head fall to the ground, for he hath wrought with God this day.
They refuse. They overrule the king.
They absolutely do. They rescue Jonathan. The commentary stresses this. The people overrule the king again. Their collective voice, empowered perhaps by Jonathan's example and the clear divine help they saw, overrides Saul's flawed judgment.
Wow. So the people, recognizing where the real victory came from, protect Jonathan from Saul's jealousy.
Exactly. And after that, Saul just gives up the chase against the Philistines for the day. Now, the commentary does add that despite these, pretty major failings in this chapter, Saul does continue to fulfill his mission broadly. He keeps fighting Israel's other enemies.
So he's still doing the basic job description of king, defend the nation, but the way he leads, his inner compass, is still off.
That's the point. And the commentary points to who he surrounds himself with. Verse 52 says he gathered valiant men, strong warriors, but not spiritual advisors, not prophets, not men connected to God's wisdom.
Which brings us right back to that core conflict we started with.
Right back. The deep insight here, from this perspective, rooted in the sages, is that a fatalist, someone stuck believing that strength and circumstance are everything, will always choose might over wisdom, control over faith, material power over spiritual connection. This whole drama in chapter 14 is just a crystal clear picture of that battle playing out in one leader's soul.
So wrapping this deep dive up, what's the distilled lesson from chapter 14, seen through the wisdom of the sages of Israel? It's really this stark contrast, isn't it, Saul? Fatalism, control, that failure to connect actions and consequences in the spiritual realm. And Jonathan, just radical faith, initiative, courage, that deep connection.
Jonathan really embodies that prophetic spirit, believing things can change, acting on faith, trusting God. Saul. He's wrestling with insecurity, reacting with control, using flawed methods like lush instead of seeking real guidance. And that powerful idea from the commentary, maybe the king was never the failure, the system was. It wasn't just Saul the person, but the whole approach to kingship he represented focused on the external, the material, while losing touch with the spiritual source.
And you can absolutely see those dynamics playing out today, can't you? In leadership, sure, but even in our own lives. That pull between thinking things are just the way they are versus acting in faith for something different. Grasping for control versus trusting, focusing only on external strength while maybe neglecting inner wisdom. These are real choices we make all the time.
Yeah, this story, viewed this way, really holds up a mirror. It asks us which path we're choosing in our own challenges.
This deep dive, it's just one piece of this much bigger, richer journey we're on through Samuel, using these incredible insights from the sages. We really hope you're finding it meaningful, maybe even challenging.
We hope it sparks something for you.
And if you want to keep going, keep exploring these ideas, see how the story unfolds. The best thing to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel. Seriously. All the past deep dives are there, including the earlier Samuel chapters, and you'll get all the future ones too.
And while you're there, hit that notification bell. That way you really won't miss anything, new chapters or other deep dives we do.
Yeah, definitely do that. And hey, if this conversation resonated with you today, maybe share it. Give it a like. It genuinely helps other people find these ideas.
We also really value your thoughts and questions. Drop them in the comments, especially on YouTube. Your questions honestly help us figure out where to go next, what to explore deeper.
So please do that. Next time, we're moving into chapter 15. And let me tell you, that conflict between Saul's way of being king and the prophetic voice, it gets even more intense, more fateful.
Yeah, it ramps up significantly. Until then, maybe sit with that final thought from our source. Prophecy isn't just some ancient history thing. It's the antidote to fatalism, even now. And maybe the king wasn't the failure. Maybe the system was.